Awesome. I see we're at the hour, so we can go ahead and get started. Yeah, like we said, we're product managers at Microsoft, and hello, everyone. We're super happy and grateful to be presenting about Microsoft Mesh at this Metaverse One conference, and kind of cutting edge and bleeding edge here when we're all together in it. So this is super great to be talking at this platform. So we'll be talking to you all about Microsoft Mesh. It's our brand new collaborative immersive platform that allows you to connect with others like never before using a PC or a VR headset.
Yeah, and so some of our early partners have been building solutions that target scenarios such as all-hand meetings, employee onboardings, training, guided tours and demos, social gatherings, and more, as you can see in this video. It's been fun to watch the development as they use their imagination or tools to put these together.
So with Mesh, you get a lot of out-of-the-box functionality. Like our presentation description said, we'll definitely be going into the tools, but there's a lot that just works with Mesh when you have the app. Like we mentioned, you can use PC requests, so you have access to different endpoints. You can create events that users can view and join and see it as part of our dashboard, as part of the app. You get the whole avatar system that we have through Microsoft, so that's used to navigate around the environments. And then you get to use our spatial audio technology, which is really awesome, kind of simulates the real life audio, and you can control how that experience goes for everyone. And that is great for communication in general, as well as making engaging presentations.
And yeah, so we also, on top of that, we have these developer tools you can use to bring your own magic to these experiences. And let's see, if I click play, will it play? Yeah, the web view one wasn't playing. Yeah, you can bring things like web content in. We have web slates that allow you to just kind of post these on the wall or anywhere you want, really. We have physics that is pretty phenomenal, so that you can create these interactions that mimic the real world. And we have scripting, so you can add a deeper level of interactivity to your world. You'll see some of that today with our visual scripting. And then also, we have graphics and performance tools. So we provide some shaders already that you can use to add to your scene that are pretty performant. And then we have some performance optimization tools that I will show you in a little bit that you can use to run through your scene to see maybe where you're hitting some bottlenecks, just some warnings. You don't anything necessarily you have to do, but areas where you could improve performance if you are hitting some performance problems. But I imagine for this audience, it's probably going to be more exciting to see how we actually build this stuff. So for the rest of the presentation, we're going to jump into Unity and show you some of the functionality of the toolkit, how to kind of build a world that's based off our Mesh 101 tutorial. And then actually, we're going to jump into the experience so you can see how a cross-platform collaboration looks like. And at this point, I am going to take over screen sharing and hop into Unity here. Let me know when you guys can see my screen, when you all can see my screen.
We can see that.
Okay, great. So I imagine some of you are familiar with Unity, and so you see what's going on here. I will say that the Mesh tools are designed for intermediate to advanced Unity users. The visual scripting is pretty great for intermediate work. We have some C# cloud scripting stuff you can do for advanced users, but you do need to have some familiarity with Unity to do your work here. So the first thing you need to think about is, what is your experience going to be? Is it going to be like a tabletop experience and I'm looking down at this? Or, is it going to be like down here? Are we on this little boat going to this island to see what's at the lighthouse? Or are we somewhere in the middle and it's actually, more of like, oh, we're just going to hang out on this little terrace and do some work. So something we have that is helpful for you to figure that out is our little play mode setup, which, obviously play mode setup is helpful too, because as you may have imbued from its title, you can use it to run some mesh simulations inside of play mode to give you a quick developer loop. But you also get this super high fidelity stand-in character for our avatars that gives you a sense of what the person scale experience is going to be like for Mesh. So, this is not, he's not a a giant looking down on the tabletop, nor is he over on that sailboat. He is right here. And so this is what your experience is going to feel like when you're on PC or in a VR headset. And so, yeah, now that we have that, I'll show you some other fun functionality we have. I mentioned the web slates earlier. I'll just throw one in here really quickly and show you how easy it is to set up. I know kind of generally what position I would want this in. So I'm going to push it out there a little bit, but I'm going to make it like a big screen. I'm a big fan of like 4x3 sizes. You know what? I was going to go to a cool website about wind turbines, but I forgot to copy the link. So I'm just going to show you the Microsoft.com website where it defaults to anyway. But you can use your imagination to say, is there any additional information I want to put in here? You know, this tutorial is based on showing how to teach someone about wind turbines and stuff like that. So you could add some information or whatever you want there. And at this point, we have this experience kind of ready to go. You know, if you were porting an experience over and you had your environment, you could just drop this play mode person in here and some other stuff you want. And as long as you have the mesh toolkit, once you hit play, then it'll be ready for you to start testing it out.
Yeah, and while play mode loads on Brent's computer, I'll just jump in and tell you all about the scene that you're looking at here. Brent mentioned earlier, this is Mesh 101. It is our interactive tutorial that we've designed to walk developers through the basic like building blocks that we've seen our early partners use in Mesh. And we've done it in using it as an example of a learning scenario. So you can see here where you want to teach people that jump into the space about wind turbines. There's all these different stations for that. So it's sort of an example of how you can use Mesh to simulate learnings and trainings as well. Doesn't have to be about wind turbines, of course, but that's what we went with.
I've given a lot of presentations on wind turbines. I just this always seems like a good thing to demo. Okay, all right, play mode is getting up and going. You can see here we have a list of controls for how you can move around inside of play mode. You can see my web view here. If you're interested, you can save up to $450 on a Surface Pro 9 right now, apparently, so that's cool. I didn't mean to plug the Surface, but I mean, why not? Yeah, and so, you know, our windmills are moving. There's lots of stuff in here. I won't spoil it. I'll let Megha show you that in a minute. But something I do want to show you is I mentioned some performance testing tools. So we have this thing called the CPA, the Content Performance Analyzer. You can run it in play mode or not in play mode, but if you run it in play mode, you kind of get the full enchilada of performance checks. And so I can just click this green button to say run all. And what it does is it puts a bunch of cameras around the scene and kind of analyzes what's going on in your scene. And then we use our special sauce that some of our devs put together to say, okay, what are the things that are maybe going to cause issues? And then we give you this list of what went well and what could maybe you might want to consider looking at. We have this warning here, for example, on animations. And so we open this and we look at the report and we can see, okay, there's some animations that, you know, animate even when they're not visible. Maybe that's something you want to think about taking a look at. And we have this thing here, we can click it to fix it. So we have 19 issues, click to fix. 19 issues remedied. Okay, now those animations aren't a problem anymore. I'm a big fan of fixing wind turbine animations and making my product run better. And at this point, I'm actually about to pass it over to Megha so she can show you how to set up some of our interactivity. But the last thing I want to do is just oh shoot, no, I already fixed my textures. There's only 2 here. Well, there were more textures that needed fixing, and it was cool because you could see because it was auto compressing some of the textures, not all of them because some of them aren't great. But I digress. There's lots of fun stuff in here. Some stuff you can fix on your own. Other ones, it just at least points you to where you need to go to take a look at how to make your product run more performantly. Megha, do you want to take over the screen at this point?
Yeah, let's switch over. So can everyone see my screen?
Not yet.
It's loading.
Can everyone see my glass of water?
I can.
Okay, good. My camera's still working then.
Switching from wind to water power, nice. So,
Yeah, very eco-friendly.
there you go. We can see your screen now.
Awesome. Cool. So like Brent demoed, the environment that he made, I'm not sure if you all can raise your hands here, but it seems like a relatively easy dev loop that you'd have an environment that you could upload to Mesh, party in, get your coworkers in, whatever you want. But we're going to take it a step further and add some more scripting and interactivity to the experience. So I'm already in play mode here, and I can show you, we can play a video. That's what we have set up to teach you about wind turbines. Walk up to this trigger, and we can get a little information prompt. I didn't know that the largest wind turbine has blades longer than a football field. That's pretty cool. And then we can also teleport. But as you can see here, that is not working right now. And spoiler alert, that is what I'm going to demo to you to show you how to make. So let's get out of play mode here. And if you've seen me do this, walk through this teleport button before, we did use cloud scripting. This time I'm going to show you to do it with visual scripting. It makes a bit more sense because it's simpler to get started, and with logic like this, visual scripting is great. For those of you that aren't familiar with visual scripting, it is a simplified sort of version that you can of coding that you can use for game development, and it's a visual sort of setup of nodes and logic that kind of represents the form of functions, and you'll be able to see it in real time if you're not familiar with it already, and then see how we've added some of our mesh extensions. So let's get to work here. So I already have my teleport to wind turbine button set up here with a teleport now variable. So you can see here that I have my script machine. It's in the form of an embed graph, and we can edit the graph. One thing I want to call attention to before we get into the actual logic is one of our local scene scopes that you can add. In general, with visual scripting, what the values would already be shared across the clients. So when I make this teleport button, I don't want it to be an experience in Mesh where if I press the button, for example, Brent also teleports with me. So I have this scene scope added and this unchecked. I don't want to share the visual script variables on this game object, and I have the ability to control that. So let's get into the graph here. I'll full screen this to make it a little bit easier to see. But you can see I already have some logic written out for the teleport button behavior. It's basically saying if this button is selected, something is going to happen. And what we're going to do together is make that something happen, which is teleport to the top of a platform. Another thing I want to call attention to here is our on-state changed event. It's our Microsoft Mesh bespoke visual script extension that basically controls that if a variable changes, something happens. So you can see here we have our teleport now variable that is set, and that is set to true. So whatever happens in this function depends on this button being selected. So let's see here. So we have already got our variable, we changed our state. So what I'd want to do is get my game object, which would be my location. So let's go back to our hierarchy here. So one thing I want to show you as well, so we have our travel groups that are set here, and you can add as many locations as you want through the travel point script. What I want to do is get up here. There's a cool animation that my tech artist has showed me. So I'm going to create another game object, call this teleport location wind turbine, and please let me know if I have any typos. I don't want to mesh this demo up. So my position, I already have that here for where our generator is going to be. Set my rotation as well. And then what I'm going to do here is add a travel point script. So that makes it part of this travel group. And one thing to call out, and this is sort of part of that experience building that we can do here, I'm going to deactivate this location because in my travel group, I already have a location, which is teleport location chapter 3, and that is where I'm in right now. I want my users that jump into this experience to spawn here because that's where that learning journey starts. So if this one is selected and I select this one as well, it would be random, and I don't want my user to start at the top of the turbine. So we're going to deselect that and just reference this location in our visual scripting logic. So let's get back over here. There's a lot of build up to using that node. So what I'm going to do is get my game object and activate that. So I want to drag this location that we just made here, activate it. So checking that box. And then what I want to do is call in this travel point script that I have. So as you can see, we have a bunch of different travel points that you can do. For this experience, I don't want it to be random or anything, so I'm going to set my travel to point script here. And this is the location that I want. And I'll go back to full screen for this. So to complete this logic, I'm going to connect this travel point script to this variable. So you can see sort of big picture here what's happening. I know I talked a little bit about it before, but basically this button is being pressed and we have our teleport now variable. All of this relies on this being true, that the button is selected. So we want this teleport to open platform functionality to execute. But what I don't want is that if someone else then presses the button, or if I want to press that button again, then I don't teleport. So what this last part does is it just sets it all back to false. So it's going false to true to false for the button so that the next time I press the button, that all works. So let's test this out in play mode.
While your play mode's loading, I will mention that I am shortly going to enter into Quest to hang out and wait for Megha to show up so you can see the demo. But I'm not going to sit at my desk and bang my controllers on the table.
Yeah, we're almost done with our work in Unity, and then we can join Brent in Mesh. That's where all the fun is. This might be taking a little bit longer to load than usual because I have a couple things running on my computer, including presenting this on Teams, but at least you guys know this is a real live demo. There we go. Yeah, like I mentioned before, if you've seen me do it before, we did use cloud scripting. So there was some C#. Now this is kind of all done in Unity, which makes it a bit simpler. And also I didn't have broken glasses before, so my face wasn't as smushed against the camera. So sorry about that. You have to see all these tiny scripts. All right, so we're at our teleport button. Perfect, this worked. And I wanted us to face the generator, and that's what happened. We can see the animation that my tech artist has made before poke in here. This will look a lot cooler in Mesh. But what I also want to show you, we showed our little like scripting learning station. We also have some really cool physics here as well. So you can see I have these turbines, this awesome volume trigger set here with this wind. So I can grab these turbines, move them in here. The blades will start spinning. Again, you'll see this in Mesh as well. I can do this with this turbine too. And let's see, this one is a little bit stubborn and it's not moving. Another spoiler alert, that's exactly what I'm going to show you, how easy it is to make this turbine grabbable and releasable. So this is a very sort of simple example of using our physics tools. With our physics tools, you can control things like gravity, throwability, buoyancy. I think if we have some game developers on the call, you know that the world is really your oyster when you can control physics. And the metaverse is also your oyster when you can control physics. So let's jump here. So what I want to do is let's check this one stubborn wind turbine that I had, which red blades. I want to check that this rotation is frozen just in the rigid body settings. That will make sure it doesn't tilt over if I put it on the table or anything. And then one thing to call attention to here, I remember before I showed you all the local scene scope and how we had the sharing the visual script variable box unchecked because I wanted it to be an individual behavior for me in Mesh. In this case, I want Brent to be able to see when I move the wind turbine around so we can work together and get that power from that beautiful ocean breeze and see where each other is placing the turbine. So I am sharing the visual script variables in this instant. And now you can see how easy it is to just make this interactable. There we go. I just have to add this interactable property script, check this box, make this manipulable, and there you go. That would be able to be grabbed and released in Mesh. As you can see, there's a couple more settings, not a couple, a lot more settings that you can use to really customize this experience, but this is just a simple example of how easy it is to make something interactable in Mesh, just dragging that script in and checking that box. So it looks like Brent is in Mesh, and I really want to get over there and show you all because he's having a little bit too much fun with the quest. So really quickly, I'll show you all the loop that it would take to publish this environment now that we've added this scripting and interactivity. The first thing that you'd have to do is configure project settings. This way you can connect your Unity browser settings to, or it translates the Unity browser settings to the Mesh browser settings, so you don't have to do that manually. So all I'd have to do is configure those project settings and then log into my uploader here. In this case, I have it pulled over. I just sign in, it's done securely on my Microsoft tenant, and then I'd just be able to set a name, description, world, publish that, and that would be visible as an event in our dashboard. So it's super easy to just build and publish to Mesh. Want to call attention one more thing here. Like I mentioned before, we did this with cloud scripting. You still have this capability. You can set up your Mesh script configurations. It would allow you to easily connect to the cloud. It would synchronize across all clients. For those familiar with C#, the possibilities are really endless when you can connect to your backend servers. And so that would run on Azure in the backend. In this case, I don't have any cloud scripting set up in this environment, so I don't need to do that. But that is it for our work in Unity. Let's go ahead and jump into Mesh.
Can you still hear
Brent,
me
are you
okay
ready
from
now?
up here?
Yeah.
From up here.
Cool. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep, we can see that.
Awesome. So to show the cross-platform functionality here, as you can see, Brent is in Quest moving around. I am still on PC. I have this event set up and I will join it. There is audio set up in the environment, like I mentioned before, with the video player, but we don't really want to make you all jump out of your seat and shock you with the loud music. So we'll be on mute here.
It is pretty good. And hello,
awesome.
Nice to see you.
Hi, Brent. Good to see you too. Awesome. Like I mentioned, we have our video player. Brent clicked the info dialog trigger, so that's why that popped up. And Brent, you want to go to the top of the turbine?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. We teleported up here. We have our generator animation. Brent can go ahead and peek in.
Peek further in than you can.
Yeah, it is pretty cool on Quest, but PC is still awesome.
Yeah, it's also a good thing I'm not afraid of heights because we are quite far up here.
Yeah. Can peer over and show you all how high we are. This is a beautiful skybox that our designer has made.
There's a nice little village over there I keep wanting to check out, but I imagine it feels like it's a long walk in Quest.
As you all can tell, getting to the top of a turbine is usually not where you'd have any company meetings or anything or be able to physically travel to, but in Mesh you can. Awesome. We're at our physics station.
Hello. Yeah, and so you can see here now, Megha and I both can pick these up and move them around and place them over here so you can see and learn how the physics works. You know, when you place your windmills over here, I did not add physics to that one when I built this one up. And you can even pick up 2 at a time and move them around if you're in Quest. I believe you can only do 1 on mouse and keyboard. But it's a great way to kind of understand and teach someone about, you know, how you would set up wind farms. You don't want to, you know, stack them as much as maybe put them next to each other, not in front or behind, because, you know, then there's going to get some turbulence and whatnot. Anyway, something I really like about this platform is kind of what the full package of Mesh represents. You get all this stuff that just works in Mesh, which is this, you know, cross-platform collaboration. Megha's here on PC. I'm standing here in Quest. We have spatial audio, so we can easily communicate. I can hear, kind of echolocate where she's standing. I don't think that's the right term for it, but you know what I mean. And then we have this avatar system. So, just same avatars you would use in Teams, avatars for Teams. It ports over here, easy to customize. And then all of this backed by like Azure Active Directory security, so that your meetings are going to be secure, the right people are coming into them. Then you add on top of that our developer tools, which enable you to add these physics interactions, the web view I showed earlier, the cloud scripting for connecting to your business logic backend, and the visual scripting for easy hooking up interactivity, and a play mode for that quick developer loop. We feel like all of that really comes together to enable you to be able to build truly unique experiences for your customers and end users. And if you will follow me over here, I have our call to action. Are you still with me, Megha? I can't.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yes. So if you would like to learn more about Mesh, then you can go here to learn more at www.mesh.com, or you can register your interest if you really want to learn about how to use Mesh at aka.ms/join Mesh tab. And if you liked our session and you want to give us some feedback, we would appreciate it. Even if you did not like our session, we would still appreciate some feedback. Hold on a second. I think, yes, my computer's over here. There we go. Now I'm actually also talking to you as well. You can go to metaverse-1.rocks/feedback to leave us your feedback on the session. After that, we think you should attend other sessions and the keynote, and show your love on social media using the hashtag Metaverse1 and at Metaverse Conference name to be able to kind of share what you've enjoyed about this experience. And yeah, that's it for me. Just gonna, I don't know. I didn't actually leave the camera too. Sorry, I didn't shimmy off the camera. I was just using my thumbsticks.
Yeah. Well, we still see you in Mesh too now.
Okay. Oh. I don't know if this
there
one
you
looks
go.
good or not. Yeah.
You're also all getting a dance show for free.
That's true. Yeah. Well, look at the time. I believe that's it for our demo. So now you get to watch me get disembodied as I take my headset off.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for watching and for being here with us today.
That was awesome. Good to see you've got legs back again.
And I'm back.
Yeah, it was really good and really nice demo. Thank you to both of you. That was a really nice session. We don't particularly have any questions in the chat, but if there's anything else you wanted to pass on, I mean, I think you've given us there the links on how we get started. People are discussing that whether you've got a fear of heights, whether you're wearing the headset or not. I think that's quite important.
I may or may not have fallen off of that, and when we were developing it,
What's that like?
I mean, it was fine. I've spent some time in a headset, so I was prepared mentally. But it definitely surprised me.
Nice. Okay.
And it was a long walk back over to those little to our little verandas to get back over, so I could get back on
More of those teleport spots.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was really good fun. Thank you for showing that. And really, looked so logical, everything that you were doing there. So
Thanks.
I'm pretty sure that's going to get some massive uptake. But thank you for that. Thank you for joining. And if anybody wants to connect with you guys, I'm sure they can find you on the session, and we'll put your contact details when we publish the video on YouTube. So thank you very much for joining Metaverse One. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you
This was super fun.